All right, folks, we are going to continue practicing thinking like a historian. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about context, and we're going to continue looking at the lunchroom fight between Justin and Max. So we're going to figure out what context is and how historians use it to understand and write about the past. We're going to learn about contextualization as well. So our directions, what I'm going to do is read you two different passages about the fight. So to begin with, Justin and Max got into a fight in the lunchroom. After investigating the incident and interviewing the two boys, their friends, witnesses, teachers, and their parents, the principal gave the following two versions of what caused the fight. Read both versions and answer the questions below. So here we have two versions. We've got one version on the left and one on the right. I'm going to read both. This version was passed from the principal to a teacher who had asked about the fight. And the principal's answer to that teacher was, Justin's dad is new management at the factory, and Max's parents were fired. Looks like Max might have been bullying Justin as a result, and Justin is a new kid with few friends, so he reacted. So that's one version of the fight. Over here we've got another version of the fight, and the principal's official written report to the superintendent said, the fight between Justin and Max was caused by factors inside and outside the school. For the last few years, our community has gone through major changes. The factory that employs many in our community is under new management because the company, which is based in London, is not selling as many products to China as they used to. Justin's father is one of the new managers in the plant, and because of the changes in the factory, Max's parents were let go from their jobs last month. Max and his friends started bullying Justin soon after, possibly as a result of Max's parents losing their positions. Justin has not made many friends since moving here, so he has not had anyone to help him cope with the bullying or to distract him from it. The fight broke out during lunch after Max insulted and shoved Justin, and Justin threw a punch. So in the Ed puzzle, what I'm going to have you do is identify the similarities and differences between the two versions presented above. Go ahead and do that in the Ed puzzle. Next, I'm going to have you in the Ed puzzle answer which version helps you better understand what caused the fight and why. Now, let's figure out how to contextualize. Contextualize means the act of describing where an event took place, what led to it, and why. Some contextualizing questions are, when did it happen? Where did it happen? What led to it? Why did it happen, when, and where it took place? Now, this last one can be a little confusing. Essentially, this question is asking, why did it happen at this time, or when? Why did it happen at this place? All right, so that your next task in the Ed puzzle is you're going to identify where the principal answered the four contextualization questions above by annotating the passage below. So in the Ed puzzle, I've put in this passage. I've copied and pasted it into an open-ended question, and then I've also included the four questions. And what I want you to do is either retype a section of the passage and link it with the question. So it's basically like you're matching things up. So I'm going to have you do that in the Ed puzzle now. All right, the next thing we're going to look at and then practice this is we're going to look at the difference between historical circumstances and geographic circumstances. So to start up here, we could divide context into historical circumstances and geography, though the two types of context are almost always related to one another. These two types of context demonstrate that to contextualize an event, you must connect cause and effect and think like a geographer. Historical circumstances, or we could also use the words historical context, are the events that led to an event, includes the time period and larger historical trends, as well as causes. So questions that help us investigate historical context or help us to determine historical context are: when did it happen? What time period was it? What were the characteristics of that time period? What led to it? Who was involved? What were those people like? And why were they involved? Then coming over here, we're looking at geography and geographic context. And this means where a historical event took place and why it took place there. It includes location, location relative to other places, geographic features, and climate. So questions to help us determine geographic context are: where did it happen? What geographic features were nearby? How did those features affect how it happened? Excuse me. What political region did it take place in? And what regions were nearby? What was the relationship between those regions? Now here we're looking at the same passage as before. This is the written message from the principal to the superintendent. And what I'm going to have you do in the Ed puzzle is identify which sections of the passage refer to historical circumstances and which refer to geographic context by annotating the passage below. Now in the Ed puzzle, I have put this passage so that you can continue to refer to it. I've also included these key questions for historical circumstance and geographic context. And what I want you to do again is essentially match up the information that's in the passage and try to determine and match it up with either historical circumstances or identify that it was a geographic context. To finish out this lesson, I'm going to ask you an extra credit question, and I'm asking you to just answer this in an email or a Google Classroom message. So here's your question. Next week is February break. I would like for you to share with me what is one thing you are hoping to do next week while you're off from school. Something that you're hoping to do or something that you are planning to do.